Captain Kira Voss stood at the threshold of the shuttle's airlock, watching the towering spires of Mithrix Prime slowly draw nearer. The massive space station, a hub of galactic diplomacy and trade, glimmered with the weight of countless civilizations and their power struggles. Earth had never been here before. Her fingers tightened around the briefcase in her hand, the contents of which held the future of her planet. The door hissed open, and a cold gust of recycled air hit her face. Behind her, the elite soldiers of Earth's Special Operations Command moved with military precision, their heavy boots echoing in the sterile hallway. "This place is grand," said Lieutenant Marcus Doyle, one of Voss's trusted officers, his voice a touch too impressed for her liking. "Don't let the surface fool you," Kira replied, her eyes narrowing. "They'll have their eyes on us, every step of the way." Voss could feel the weight of history pressing against her shoulders. For centuries, Earth had been the underdog in the galactic theater, technologically inferior, often dismissed, and viewed as little more than a burgeoning civilization. Now, after decades of research, military buildup, and technological leaps, Earth was finally sending its representatives to the Galactic Council. Only, this time, it wasn't diplomats they were sending. They had sent apex predators in suits. As they exited the shuttle, Voss's eyes scanned the bustling promenade of Mithrix Prime. Zilithian diplomats, towering crystalline beings, moved past them, casting disdainful glances. The air was thick with the scent of alien perfumes and the low murmur of 1,000 different species. Voss couldn't help but wonder if the council truly understood what they were dealing with. "We're expected," a tall, broad-shouldered Zilithian in a black suit announced, his voice mechanical and cold. "Follow me." The officers didn't need further instructions. They moved in formation, their synchronized steps making it clear they were no ordinary diplomats. Every piece of equipment was stowed in precisely calculated places, their posture rigid but confident, projecting authority. They were here for one thing, to represent humanity's strength. The Zilithian led them through a series of ornate corridors. The architecture was overwhelming, imposing statues, colossal columns, and shimmering walls that appeared to ripple with energy. Everything screamed power, but Voss wasn't intimidated. Not anymore. At the Council's main chamber, she was met by Arcthan Vex, the Grand Diplomat of the Galactic Council, a creature whose arrogance practically radiated from his angular face. His skin was a deep purple, with tendrils of dark energy swirling around him. He extended a hand, his posture impeccable, but the thin, almost predatory smile on his face told Voss everything she needed to know. He had no respect for Earth. "Captain Voss," he said, his voice silky, "I trust your journey was comfortable." "Comfortable enough," Voss replied, offering him a firm handshake. She locked eyes with him, letting him feel the weight of her gaze. "I trust you've prepared the matters we're here to discuss." "Oh, of course," Arcthan said smoothly. He gestured toward the high-backed chairs surrounding the circular table. "Please, take a seat. Let's discuss the future of your planet." As Voss moved to sit, her mind was already running calculations. They weren't here for a casual chat. The Council had no intention of treating Earth as an equal. They were here to impose regulations, limitations, subjugation, if she was honest. Arcthan Vex had made it clear that Earth's military innovations and independence were seen as a threat, and now, the Council wanted to cripple it. "Captain Voss, I trust you've reviewed the documents we've sent," Vex continued, opening a holoscreen that displayed intricate charts and data. "The Council has determined that Earth's expansion in certain sectors of the galaxy is concerning. We'll be implementing new laws to ensure balance." Voss glanced at the data, but she had already seen it. It was a thinly veiled demand for Earth to relinquish control over its military technologies. But she wasn't here to negotiate the terms of surrender. She was here to fight a different kind of battle, the one that would ensure Earth's survival. "I'm familiar with the proposals," Voss said, her voice unwavering. "But you and I both know that this isn't about laws. It's about control." Vex's smile faltered for a split second, but he recovered quickly. "Control is necessary to maintain order. You see, Captain, the galaxy is delicate. If every species acted with the same recklessness as Earth, Recklessness? Voss interrupted, her tone rising just enough to break the tension. You're calling Earth's actions reckless when your own empire enslaves entire civilizations? Arcthan's eyes narrowed, but Voss could see the flicker of irritation behind his composed facade. Earth is exceptional, he said slowly, as if tasting the words. But it is too exceptional. And that is dangerous. Voss leaned forward. And you think strangling us with bureaucracy will solve that? We've learned to thrive in chaos, Arcthan. We'll never bow to a system that doesn't understand us. For a long moment, the silence between them was thick with unspoken threats and hidden fury. Vex finally spoke, his voice softer, but with an unmistakable edge. Captain, your arrogance blinds you. You are not the only species capable of power. The Council is far older, far wiser than your fledgling species. Voss's lips curled into a smile. It's funny you say that. Because you've just mistaken a diplomatic mission for something else. Earth didn't send diplomats to this table. We sent apex predators in suits. She stood abruptly, her team falling into formation behind her. The message had been delivered, not with guns or explosions, but with the cold, hard truth of Earth's resolve. As she turned to leave, Voss caught Arcthan's fleeting glance, his expression one of disbelief. He had underestimated them, and that mistake would be his undoing. You've made a grave error, Vex, she said over her shoulder. And I hope you remember it, because the real negotiation begins now. Voss didn't wait for his reply. The future of Earth was no longer in the hands of the Council. It was in her hands, Earth's apex predator in a suit. Captain Kira Voss strode down the hallway, her boots clicking sharply against the smooth, alien floor. The meeting with Arcthan Vex had ended, but the tension still clung to her skin like static. She had felt the weight of his smugness, seen the arrogance in his eyes, and yet, something in her had remained calm, composed, almost calculating. Earth had made its point, but now the real game was about to begin. Her team was already in the next room, the one designated for secure communications. There, they had an encrypted line to Earth Command, a lifeline that could offer critical intel, or a lifeline for a deadly strategy. Voss didn't need to look at her officers to know they were all on edge. The stakes were higher than any of them had expected. Lieutenant Marcus Doyle looked up as she entered. Everything all right, Captain? Fine, Voss replied curtly, her eyes narrowing as she took her seat. But don't mistake the Council's silence for weakness. It's just the calm before the storm. The room was stark, the walls a cold metallic gray that gave the space an almost claustrophobic feel. Voss tapped a few commands into the console, the interface lighting up with data streams from Earth. The map displayed Earth's position in the galaxy, the surrounding systems marked with alarming red warnings, hostile sectors, Council-controlled space, and zones of influence. It was a chessboard, and they were the underdogs. We've already got a report, Doyle said, his voice steady but laced with concern. The Council has moved to reassign our fleet to non-strategic zones. They're trying to neuter us. Not happening, Voss snapped, her fingers flying across the console. We'll play their game for now. But if they think they've outsmarted Earth, they'll find out soon enough. She was already analyzing the Council's response to their arrival. The new regulations, the limits on Earth's military presence in the outer colonies, were a smokescreen, a provocation. The Council thought they could tighten their grip without fear of retaliation. They had miscalculated. We'll feed them misinformation, she said, her voice hardening. We've got technology they don't know about. Let's plant a few seeds. Doyle raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. Misinformation? A carefully constructed lie, Voss explained, something that'll make them think we're far weaker than we really are. If they underestimate us, if they think we're cornered, we'll have the element of surprise. She leaned forward, her voice lowering. We're going to make them believe we've lost our edge, that we're running out of time, running out of options. But we're not. Voss stood, pacing, her mind working a mile a minute. The Council will be watching our every move. We've got to make them think we're vulnerable, that we've been stripped of our technology and military strength. In their arrogance, they'll make mistakes. Doyle's eyes flickered with understanding. We play the fool, let them think we're weak, and then hit them with something they never saw coming. That's the plan, Voss confirmed. She turned to her team. We have a limited window to set the stage. We need to send the council an encrypted message, nothing overt, just a hint of fear, a whisper of panic. A breach in our systems, a false signal indicating a military vulnerability. Something they can't ignore. But won't they see through it? Lieutenant Harper asked, the youngest member of the team. She was sharp, but her nerves were still raw. They'll look for cracks, Voss said, but they won't find them. We'll bury it in a mix of misinformation and false intel. A strategically placed leak. By the time they realize they're being played, it'll be too late. Voss glanced at the encrypted line again, then back at her team. Doyle, you'll handle the encryption. Harper, get the command simulations ready. If they go for it, we'll need to move fast. No one is to break cover. Understand? The team nodded in unison. There was no room for hesitation now. They had one shot at this. Later that night, in the opulent chambers of the Galactic Council's high chambers, Voss found herself face-to-face with Arc-Then Vex once again. This time, however, she wasn't playing the diplomat. She was playing the strategist. The game had changed. We've received some interesting reports, Vex said, his voice dripping with false courtesy. He looked her over, as though searching for cracks in her armor. It seems Earth's systems are compromised. Compromised? Voss asked, leaning forward slightly. She gave him a cold smile. I'm afraid you're mistaken. I've seen the data. Earth's technology is as secure as ever. Vex's smile was thin, calculated. Oh, I'm sure it's all under control. But when we reviewed your military access logs, we noticed something curious. His eyes gleamed. A few systems went offline. That's troubling. In a galaxy this delicate, a power outage could be catastrophic. Voss suppressed a smirk. She knew what he was trying to do, push her, bait her into reacting. But she remained calm, offering only a slight tilt of her head. We're in the process of addressing it, she said evenly. But I'm sure you've realized that our technological security is not your concern. Perhaps you should focus on the matters at hand. Vex narrowed his eyes, but his confidence didn't falter. Of course. We wouldn't want to trouble you with such trivialities. He leaned back, as if testing her patience. But I must insist we discuss Earth's future on the Council. The regulations. I'm aware of the regulations, Voss interrupted, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. You've made your demands clear. But Earth won't be cajoled, and it won't be bullied into submission. If that's your strategy, you've underestimated us. The tension between them was palpable, yet Voss kept her expression neutral, even as her mind churned with the layers of strategy unfolding behind the scenes. Earth had played its hand, now, the Council was responding with calculated pressure. It was a standoff, and neither side was willing to back down. Later, Voss stood at the viewport of her quarters, watching the stars stretch out before her. Mithrix Prime was a beast, its many layers of power and influence closing in around her. But Voss wasn't intimidated. She was ready. Ready to turn the tables. Captain? Doyle's voice broke her thoughts. She turned. Yes? We've got it, he said. The first message has been sent. The leak is live. The Council will be reviewing it within hours. Voss nodded. Good. Now we wait. But as the stars outside twinkled, so did her resolve. They wouldn't just wait. They'd make the first move. And this time, Earth would dictate the terms of the game. The tension in Captain Kira Voss's quarters was almost tangible as the door sealed shut behind her. She hadn't slept for 24 hours, her mind racing with strategy, deception, and the high stakes of what was to come. Earth was on the precipice, and she couldn't afford a single misstep. The Council had underestimated them, and now, it was time to remind them exactly who they were dealing with. Her team was already assembled, waiting in the briefing room. Voss took a deep breath before joining them. The moment the door slid open, the air shifted. Her officers, usually quiet and efficient, were on edge. They had done their part, planted the misinformation, set the stage, but now, the most critical phase of their mission was at hand. Lieutenant Marcus Doyle was the first to speak. "Captain, the Council is reacting. Our intel leak hit their systems. They're starting to pull forces back, reassess the situation." "Good," Voss said, her eyes narrowing. "They'll think we've lost the advantage, that we're scrambling, vulnerable. That's when we strike." Doyle looked at her, a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. "We move now?" "We've already moved," Voss replied. "They've taken the bait. Now we make sure they regret it." Voss turned to the rest of the team. "We're going to stage a counteroffensive, a feint, if you will. We'll show them we've been crippled, but the reality is, we've been preparing for this moment." Lieutenant Harper, still unsure of the plan, raised a hand. "But won't they notice it's a trick? They'll know we're not really in that much trouble." "That's the beauty of it," Voss said, her voice cold and calculating. "The Council is so sure of their dominance, they won't see our real hand until it's too late. They're blind to the one thing they've underestimated, human ingenuity." The first move was subtle. A small fleet of unmanned ships, disguised as human military units, entered an unguarded sector. The Apex Predator Protocol, developed in secret by Earth's most advanced military minds, was now in motion. From the Council's perspective, Earth had deployed its last-ditch effort to stave off their impending subjugation. But they had no idea that these ships weren't just moving through the galaxy, they were carrying an illusion. Voss and her team worked in tandem, feeding the Council false data on Earth's readiness for combat. The information suggested that Earth's military was crippled, the systems in disarray. Meanwhile, in reality, Earth's true weapons were being kept in the shadows, just beyond the Council's reach. "We've set the trap," Doyle said, his voice steady. "Now we wait for the Council to make their move." As expected, the Council responded with overwhelming force. They sent a fleet of battlecruisers, heavily armed and prepared for a quick victory. Voss watched the incoming data on her console. The Council was playing exactly into their hands. The screen flickered, and the face of Arcthan Vex appeared. "Captain Voss," his voice rang out, thick with arrogance, "it seems your so-called predators are not as fierce as they claim. We are preparing to dismantle your remaining forces." Voss's lips twitched, her eyes narrowing. "I suggest you be careful, Vex. You've miscalculated. The apex predators you're about to face are not what you think." The hologram of Vex's face twisted in confusion. "What do you mean?" Before Voss could respond, the battle alarms blared through the room. Her team sprang into action, their movements swift and precise. "It's time," she said, her voice calm despite the chaos unfolding around them. She turned to Doyle. "Initiate the Apex Protocol. Engage the real fleet." As the team scrambled to their stations, Voss stood tall, her mind racing. Earth had created a series of advanced warships, each one far more powerful than the Council could imagine. These ships were undetectable to their scanners, silent predators in the black void of space. And now, the apex predators were about to strike. The lights in the control room flickered as the first signal went out. A small fleet of stealth ships, cloaked from the Council's radar, emerged from the shadows of nearby asteroids. Their weapons systems hummed to life. They moved silently, strategically, their targets already locked in. "We've got them," Doyle reported, his voice filled with grim satisfaction. "The Council fleet is fully engaged. Our ships are moving in position." The console in front of Voss lit up with data, enemy ships breaking formation, scrambling to counter the unexpected attack. The Council's arrogance had blinded them to the true strength of Earth. Voss had known they would underestimate humanity, just as every other enemy had. And now, she would make them regret it. The battle raged on, but Voss remained focused. Each move was calculated, every action executed with precision. The Council's forces were in disarray, unable to keep up with the rapid strikes coming from Earth's fleet. Voss's voice was calm as she issued orders. Doyle, take the main line. Harper, coordinate the secondary strike force. We're not giving them a chance to regroup. Yes, Captain, both officers responded in unison. Hours passed, but Voss's focus never wavered. The battle was a delicate balance of intelligence and military might. Earth's forces had lured the Council into a trap, but now, they were ensuring their victory. The illusion of weakness had turned into an advantage. The Council had walked straight into a battle they were not prepared for. Suddenly, the console blinked, and a familiar face appeared, Archvan Vex, his expression twisted with rage and disbelief. You deceived us, he spat, his voice barely contained. You're not just weak, this is treason. Voss leaned forward, meeting his gaze with unwavering confidence. Treason? No, Vex. This is strategy. You underestimated us, and now you're paying the price. We'll never submit to your power, Vex snarled, his voice threatening. Then don't, Voss replied coldly. But understand this, the galaxy won't just bend to the Council anymore. Earth will stand at the table as equals or not at all. The hologram flickered and then disappeared, leaving Voss to survey the battlefield. The Council's fleet was in retreat. Earth's predators had struck swiftly and decisively. Victory? Doyle asked, stepping up beside her. Not yet, Voss said, her gaze still fixed on the stars beyond the viewport. But it's a start. And it's enough to send a message. The galaxy would never forget the day Earth showed its true power. The apex had been unleashed. And with it, a new era had begun. Captain Kira Voss stood before the viewport of her quarters, the dark expanse of space stretching endlessly before her. The silence of the void felt oddly comforting now, after the storm of battle had passed. Earth had proven itself, but the weight of what had transpired still pressed heavily on her shoulders. The Council had learned a hard lesson, but Voss knew that this was just the beginning. The sound of footsteps behind her broke her reverie. It was Doyle, his face tired but relieved. Captain, he began, his voice low, the Council has formally retreated. We've won, for now. Voss didn't respond immediately. Her eyes remained fixed on the stars, her thoughts far away. For now, she repeated softly, as if to herself. The tension in the room was palpable as Doyle stepped closer. Do you think they'll retaliate? Of course they will, Voss said, finally turning to face him. They've been embarrassed in front of the galaxy. They'll regroup, rearm, and come back for revenge. But that's their mistake. Doyle looked confused. What mistake? They'll think we're just another one of their enemies they can crush easily, Voss explained, her voice growing cold. But they don't realize what we've learned. Earth's true strength isn't in the weapons we build or the fleets we command. It's in our resolve. Our ability to adapt. And the Council has never faced that before. Her words hung in the air, heavy with implication. For years, humanity had been dismissed as a fringe player in the grand galactic scheme. Now, that perception had been shattered. Voss could feel the shift, like a ripple in the fabric of the universe. But as much as she wanted to savor the moment, she knew better than to let her guard down. The next few days were spent analyzing the fallout of their unexpected victory. The Council's fleet was in retreat, but Earth's true power had yet to be revealed in full. Voss had kept Earth's most advanced military secrets hidden, until now. What they had accomplished was just a glimpse of what humanity was capable of when pushed to the brink. As she sat in the command center, reviewing the tactical reports, Lieutenant Harper approached her with a data pad in hand. Captain, there's something you need to see. Voss took the data pad, her brow furrowing as she scanned the data. What is it? It's a transmission, Harper said. From the Council. From Vex? Voss asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. No, Harper replied. It's a broader message. They're calling for a summit. They want to negotiate terms for a new understanding between Earth and the Council. Voss leaned back in her chair, her eyes narrowing. A summit? After everything that's happened? Harper nodded. They're offering Earth a seat at the table. Not just as an observer, but as a partner in the future of the galaxy. The words hung in the air like a challenge. A partner? The Council, who had just a few days ago been on the verge of crushing Earth's independence, was now offering a seat at the table? No, Voss said, the word coming out firmly, almost instinctively. This is a trick. They want to pacify us. But their terms will be the same. We bow to their rules, or we're crushed. Harper hesitated, clearly unsure. But Captain, this could be our chance to actually change things. To have real influence. We don't need their influence, Voss snapped. We've already proven that we don't need to bend the knee. What they want is to control us, to turn our victory into submission. Earth doesn't negotiate from a position of weakness, we make the terms. Harper remained silent, but Voss could see the conflict in her eyes. The idea of peace, of negotiation, was appealing, especially after the chaos of the past few days. But Voss wasn't interested in peace at any cost. She was interested in power. True power. The days following the transmission were filled with careful deliberation. Voss met with Earth Command, briefing them on the Council's proposal. It was a strange kind of victory, a diplomatic one, but only on the surface. The Council's offer seemed generous, but it was still riddled with conditions that would leave Earth's sovereignty in jeopardy. Voss knew better than to trust it. They've miscalculated, she said during the briefing. They think offering us a seat at their table will make us forget how they tried to break us. But we haven't won this war for their benefit, we've won it for our own. Captain, we have to at least listen, said Commander Nash, a seasoned officer who had seen his fair share of battles. If we refuse, it might be seen as an act of war. Voss's eyes narrowed. An act of war? Nash, what have we been doing these past few days if not fighting? This isn't just about making the galaxy respect Earth. It's about ensuring no one, ever dares to challenge us again. If we take their offer, it sends a message that Earth is weak, that we can be manipulated. We're not playing their game anymore. Nash looked troubled but didn't argue further. Voss could feel the weight of her decisions bearing down on her. Earth had come a long way, but the fight wasn't over. The Council would not let this humiliation go unpunished. Voss needed to prepare for what came next, regardless of the Council's offer. A week later, Voss stood once again before the viewport, her gaze fixed on the stars. She could feel the pulse of the universe, alive, shifting, uncertain. Earth had carved a place for itself, but the question remained, how far would they go to keep it? Doyle entered quietly, stepping up beside her. Captain, Earth Command has made its decision. We're going to decline the Council's offer. Full sovereignty, no negotiations. Voss didn't look at him. Good. We can't afford to play their game. The galaxy needs to see that we can make our own rules. We've made our choice, Doyle said, his voice a mix of respect and apprehension. But you know what this means, right? The Council won't just stand down. I know, Voss replied, her voice steady. They'll come after us. But they're not going to break us. Not anymore. She turned to him, her eyes hardening with the same resolve she'd felt when she first stepped onto Mithrix Prime. We've shown them who we are. And now, they'll learn to fear us. Because we don't just survive, we rise. In that moment, as the stars flickered like distant flames in the cold of space, Captain Kira Voss knew that Earth's greatest battle had only just begun. The galaxy would not dictate humanity's fate. Earth had stepped into the light, and now, it would never retreat into the shadows again.